All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. And as always, happy Friday, everybody. I hope you're having a great day. We're bringing that Friday energy to you. I'm stumbling over my words because this morning my daughter woke me up at 3 a.m. So everybody out there who has a young one under 3 year old and they are getting you up in the morning, I feel you. But you know what? We power through it. And it's a good day for a second reason because we have Isabelle Guarino with us on the show. And Isabelle, I apologize. I did not ask how to pronounce your last name. I hope I did it justice.
You did great.
All right, perfect. Isabelle does residential assisted living, and she is here to show us how to cash flow $10,000 a month on one single family home. So, it sounds like a good topic to me. Isabelle, thanks for hopping on.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. I told you before we got on here, we always like starting with stories. We like to hear how people got to where they are. I'm sure you got a good story in your pocket. So why don't you take us to the beginning of your experience in residential assisted living and tell us how you got here?
Yeah, actually, my grandmother needed assistance and care, and my dad had been a real estate investor for like 30 years up to that point. And when she needed assisted living, we were searching for a place for her. Everything was expensive, waiting lists, they smelled bad, the care was bad. It was just like, this is the option. It was really disheartening. And so my dad did quick math and he's like, wait, 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 wait. We're gonna pay 5 grand a month for her to live in one of these homes, or we could own and operate the real estate. She could live for free and we could be cash flowing. So, with no one there to show us what to do, we actually purchased our first residential assisted living home with the intent to move my grandmother in. And my grandmother passed before we could move her in, but we really fell in love with the industry all the while, and then the impact that we could have on the seniors and their families when really the options out there are pretty bleak.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember we had to search for a facility like that for my grandma, and
Mm,
it was a lot of them are just not someplace you step into them and you're like, I don't like this. I don't
so
like the
bad.
smell. I don't like the vibe. So having a good place to put your grandmas and your older family members in is very important.
Yeah.
And obviously, it is a good opportunity in the real estate world as well.
Right.
So you guys in the title, it says 10,000 cash flow for one house. That seems,
Yep.
I know that residential assisted living is generally, it costs a little bit more to get into those than if you're renting a house. Tell
Hmm.
us what goes into it. What is, as the owner of the real estate, I'm assuming you're not running these facilities yourself, correct?
You can kind of do it really whatever you want, right? You can own the real estate and lease it to an operations company who's going to run the business within the home. In that regard, you'd be making like twice the fair market rent, because you have renovated the home, right? You've
Hmm.
widened the hallways and added, bedrooms and bathrooms, added fire suppression and all of these different things. So people are willing to pay you for the hard work that you've done. But if you are going to own the real estate and operate the business, that's what we do. It takes me about 5 hours a week to run three care homes. So it's not much time because I'm not the one working in the home or living in the home. I'm hiring that staff to do that job. And I'm not even getting the calls if someone calls out, because I've hired, again, people and management in place to separate me, the real estate investor, from that hands-on care. But that is where you can be cash flowing over 10,000 a month. So you're making money because you are running the actual business that's happening in the home.
Makes sense. So let's split this conversation into two pieces. First, we'll talk about the real estate itself. What needs to be different for the single family houses that you're buying? What you need to do to them to set them up to be residential assisted living certified, I guess. And then second half of the conversation, we'll focus on the operations. How do you set the business up? Who you need to hire? That kind of stuff. So let's start it out. Let's talk about the house.
Yeah.
What kind of houses are you looking for?
So you're really looking for the demographics of the area. You want to be where the majority population is 50 to 70 years old, making two times the median income, homeowners and college grads. Those are not the seniors moving into the home. They're the adult children of the seniors. And they are usually choosing where mom or dad goes. So they want mom or dad very close to them. So the closer the home is to them, the better off you'll be. Physically within the home, think 300 to 500 square feet per resident. Depending on where you are in the country, you're allowed to have somewhere between 6 and 16 residents in the home. So these are large, luxury, upscale, typically single level, but you can do multi-level. You add in a chairlift, you add in an elevator. Most seniors want private bedrooms and private bathrooms. So you're renovating the home to add bedrooms and bathrooms and really keep it still a home, right? It's not pad split. We're not taking away the living room and the dining room. No, no, no. You still have all those things. Think luxury, right? Like many of these homes have a movie theater in them. They have a hair salon in them. Like they're beautiful, large properties. So it's definitely something more upscale. Lots of bedrooms and bathrooms. Certain cities require fire suppression, which is sprinklers. So you may need to add things like that. So there is a lot of expenses that go in that don't necessarily go in with just your traditional single family rental.
Yeah, makes sense. And it sounds like it's also something, I mean, if you're talking about buying a single family to rent out on just as a regular rental, you're not even looking at the same type of house. The house that you're looking at is, do you have a minimum square footage? It sounds like you're looking for like 4 or 5,000 square feet minimum.
Well, yeah, depending on how many residents you can have. So if you can have 10 residents in the home and we're saying 3 to 500 square feet per resident, minimum, I'd want a 3,000 square foot home. Upwards of 5,000 would be very comfortable.
Got it. Makes sense. So what is your, you said 6 to 16 residents. What is the sweet spot? What do you generally try to look for?
Anything over 10 is great because when we get below 10, it just becomes the margins just become tighter. And the reality is for the real estate investor, it is the exact same amount of work to have a 6 bed or a 16 bed, and one you get paid a whole lot more.
Yeah. Yep. That's always the case. It's funny how that works out. You
Yeah.
can buy a 200 unit apartment complex or a 10 unit, and it's pretty much not exactly the same amount of work, but it's not that much dissimilar. So always go bigger. That is a good rule to live by.
Yeah.
Um, you've also mentioned private bedroom, private bathroom. That is something that pretty much zero houses out there come with.
Yep.
So tell me how, if you're thinking about, if I'm thinking about a house that I buy, generally the plumbing is all centralized because they don't really plan it to every single room to have its own bathroom. And so what are the rehab costs that you're, I know this is hard to peg down, but if you were to put an average to get every single room to have its own bathroom, what are the rehab costs that you're generally looking at to take, 3,000, 4,000 square foot house and turn it into a residential assisted living property?
It is really difficult to say because it so depends on what the property's starting as. For the more recent home that I've renovated, it already started as a 9 bedroom, 6 bath home. So
Wow,
to
that's big.
turn it into a 1010 is not that difficult. We didn't even need to add any additional bedrooms or bathrooms. I mean, I'm sorry, any additional like I'm sorry, any additional square footage. We just
Hmm.
chopped up the home differently. Um, so it really depends. If you're starting with a 3-2, that's going to be totally, totally different. Can you excuse me? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we always roll when something comes up on the show. You just keep rolling and see how we can get this to move along. So I'm looking at my notes here. You were talking about demographics. Um, all right. So yeah, as I mentioned, I was just talking about demographics, and for everybody listening, we just took a quick pause, but we're back at it. Demographics. You had mentioned earlier one of our few things, and I want to get a little bit more granular on that because I feel like where you buy these houses is almost more important than the house itself. Obviously, it's not more important because you do need this specific type of house, but where you buy matters a lot. So you mentioned you want the median age to be 50 to 70. You mentioned 50 to 70 years old. I don't know how that related or is there a specific tell me about the 50 to 70-year-old metric that you mentioned.
Yeah, so that is the adult child of the senior who's moving into your home. So you want to be near them. So where the 50 to 70-year-olds who are upper middle class, making twice the median income, typically homeowners, typically college grads. Those are the people who can afford to put their senior loved one into your home. And they don't want to drive 45 minutes outside of town just because it's cheaper. They want to drive 5 minutes on their way home from work. So being near them is the most important thing you can do when it comes to location.
Got it. Okay. So if you're scoping out, you live in any city, let's say Phoenix, and you want to buy one of these residential assisted living homes, what you want to do is you want to look at demographic data, figure out where the 50 to 70-year-olds are,
Mhm.
and overlay that with median income, make sure it's 2x the median income of the city. And then, I mean, college grad homeowners, that I feel like that's less important, but it's still important. I'm sure if their median income is 2x or if their income is 2x the median income, they're probably a college grad anyways, or a business owner or something like that. So the important thing here is you want the 50 to 70-year-old demographic with 2x median income, and those are the pockets that you're looking for within the city to buy these homes.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you're looking for that demographic, and then you're looking for large houses, minimum. How many beds actually? So does it have to, if you're having 10 residents in here, you have to have 10 beds because each of them are going to have their own bathroom anyways. And so you're looking for very, very large houses, or are you taking a 5 bed and converting it to a 10 bed somehow?
Yeah, you can do either one of those. There's four ways to get started. You could lease a home to use for this. So someone else has done the renovation, already, custom built it the way it needs to be for assisted living, and you're leasing it from them. You can buy land and custom build from the ground up. You can buy a single family and convert it to become, or you can buy an existing RAL business. So you're buying the real estate, buying the business up and running, cash flowing day one. So you can go all four methods, but if you are buying a single family, you probably are converting it to become a 1010 or whatever it is that you want or need in your area.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking about just going back to the demographics. Those areas, there's generally not a lot of land available to build on. And so it sounds like you're going to have to find something to buy, at least up here where I live. So you're just going to be looking for those big houses. That makes sense. So let's switch over. Let's talk a little bit about the operations. We understand the demographics, how to find the house, what we're looking for. Operations is a completely different beast. If you're looking to run this business yourself, let's talk about the key roles. Who do you need to hire? And then what are the key, I don't know, the KPI that's different than a general, real estate business? What are the things you're looking to improve to make sure that your business is running smoothly?
Yeah, so the main person that you're hiring is a licensed administrator. In the real estate world, it's kind of like our property manager. They run all of the day to day. They do the hiring, firing, training, onboarding of your caregivers, of your handyman, of your activities person, of your chef, of pretty much everyone. They do the marketing and tours with the new families, and they help do the resident intake with the new residents coming in. So that licensed administrator is the end all be all. They pretty much run all of the day to day for you. The licensed caregivers are the next most important thing that you're hiring. And really, they're doing the 24/7 caring of the seniors themselves. So having that team in place is the reason that you can become hands off. Now, if you want to become that administrator yourself, that's not what we do, and nor is it what we teach people how to do. But sometimes, people do want to do that. They say, I want to be more hands-on and run the business like that. Totally possible, and you can do that if you want.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned a lot of ancillary benefits to these communities that would really add to the operating expenses. You mentioned a chef, you mentioned a handyman. There were a couple other things. I forget what they were, but so what are you're providing all the meals for the residents. And so chef is one of them. What are the other roles that you're hiring? It sounds like you're hiring nurses, you're hiring people to actually look after the residents. So you have License admin, that's just your property manager, and then your nurses to actually,
No
care for.
nurses.
No nurses.
So it's
Okay.
licensed caregivers. So they get
Licensed
paid a
caregivers.
couple
Okay.
dollars more than minimum wage, and they do all of the caring for the residents in the home. They do all the cleaning and make sure the house is up to, you know, that it's nice, that it's running well. If the home is more luxury, you have a private chef, which isn't expensive at all. It's typically between 12 and $17 an hour, and they're only coming between 5 and noon. But your caregivers is really that main person that you're hiring. And if you don't have a chef, the caregivers are doing the cooking as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, so these licensed caregivers are not they're not dealing with medical issues. They are you don't have, I guess you're kind of filtering out the people who need the extra level of care. This is not a man, I wish I knew the nomenclature, but
Well,
it's
it is end of life care. So
okay.
99% of people will pass in the home. So it is end of life. So they are doing medical care. That's what they're licensed for. They're a licensed caregiver to give that um, help with activities of daily living. They're called ADLs. So when you move into assisted living, you typically need help with 3 to 5 ADLs. That is walking, toileting, bathing, eating, taking medication, getting up out of a chair, all of those
Mm-hmm.
different things. You need help with 3 to 5 of those. That's why you're moving in. Or you are a licensed memory care home and you are having brain change and dealing with Alzheimer's. And so you need that mental support, maybe not as much the physical support. So the caregivers are licensed to do that, and that is what they're doing. What they're not doing is medical care in the sense of doctors, nurses, gurneys, IVs. They're not doing
Mm-hmm.
that type of medical care. That would be a nursing home,
Yeah.
which many people don't ever need to go to. They just go into assisted living, and that is where they pass. But some do need that additional support and help.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So if they did need that help, you would basically just do the same thing that you'd do that anybody would do. You'd call the 911, you'd call some other assistance to come and help with the resident.
Yeah, if they need nursing care, then it is illegal for you to keep them in the home. So you would call the family and you would
Mm,
make sure that they get, changed over and that they move into a home that can provide that care for them.
yeah, that makes sense. And what is the average tenancy of these houses?
How full are they typically?
How long does somebody stay?
Oh, 3.5 years.
Oh, 3.5 years. Wow.
Yeah, average rate in our country right now is $5,500 per month per resident, and average stay is 3.5 years.
Okay. So let's talk a bit about the market for this kind of product. What are you seeing? People always used to talk about the silver tsunami. I haven't heard that phrase in a while, but I'm sure the demographics are still in favor of people providing these kind of services to the elderly. Is there? Do you see that across the nation a need for residential assisted living? Are there specific areas that need it more? What do you see in terms of the general market?
Yeah, we are currently 1.3 million beds short, actually. So there is a massive opportunity and need. The eldest of the baby boomers is not even into assisted living yet. We're still 5 years out from that. So the silver tsunami really won't hit for another 15 or 20 years.
Oh,
We're way ahead of the curve right now, but we're just starting to see a lot more people getting involved in this and saying, okay, we see what's coming. They're not building beds fast enough. NIC is projecting we're only building 70,000 beds per year. So we cannot keep up with the demand. There is just massive amounts of demand for care and assistance. We can't keep up in regards to building, and we can't keep up in regards to staffing. There's a
hmm.
huge caregiver shortage. It is the number one most in demand job in our country right now and projected for the next 20 years is home health aides and caregivers. So it's a big deal. Like there's going to be exponentially the seniors are going to be the ones who are impacted the most because if there's not enough care and not enough beds, then the beds that are there, they're just going to continue to charge more for. And it's going to be only the elite and only the wealthy who can start to afford it. And so we have a crisis on our hands, and this is a situation where people are going to be fighting over beds. and paying top dollar for it. So to me, there's no better time to get into this industry and not only be able to help the seniors that you can, but also, as an investor, this is like a crystal ball that we're looking at, and you can see what's ahead. If someone handed you a crystal ball in 2008, you'd have played differently. Same in 2020. This is exactly what we have in front of us. Anyone who gets involved now is going to be incredibly grateful that they did in 10, 20 years.
Well, there you go. Um, So we have run through our time, but before we move on, I something I forgot to ask in when we were talking about operations, kind of operations, but just setting up the business generally, licensing and insurance. I'm sure there's a lot of differences here. There's specific licenses you have to run this kind of business. Talk us through that. What kind of licenses do you need to get in order to open a business, residential assisted living facility? And is there what specific insurance do you need for both the property and the business?
So, in regards to licenses, the physical home will have a license, your licensed administrator will have a license, and the caregivers will have a license. You yourself, as the owner operator, don't necessarily have a license. The homes is based on safety and points of egress and things of that nature. And then the administrator and caregiver, you're hiring them as licensed people to come work in your home. Liability insurance is about $1 or $2 per day per resident. It's really a line item. So with 10 residents, 600 to 900 bucks a month. Definitely something you want, definitely something you need, but nothing to break the bank over.
Interesting. Huh. Okay. All right, and we already talked about the future. You said there is definitely opportunity. I did not know that the silver quote unquote the silver tsunami is so far out. You said 10 to 15 years out.
Yeah, I mean, the eldest of the baby boomers, they're not even into assisted living yet. And that's what the silver tsunami is. It's the 76 million baby boomers coming into this market, and they're not there yet.
Huh, that's crazy. All right, before we jump into the quick question round, I do have to ask anybody out there who's listening, who's heard what you said, they're like, this girl is on it. She knows what she's talking about, and they want to get involved. They want to open a residential assisted living facility. What are some tips you can give them to get started, and then some resources that they can go to?
Yeah, best resource is ral101.com. It's a great website. There's free webinars, free books. You can schedule a call with me or the team. But great place to start is really doing your research in your area and determining which of those four methods we talked about you want to choose to get started, and then doing that market research, finding out where those adult children live so you can really narrow in on the best place for your own assisted living.
Perfect. I love it. All right, with that, I'm going to push us into the quick question round. It starts with education. Could be any form, a conference you've gone to, mentorship program you've been a part of, book you read, movie you saw, anything like that. But I need two recommendations: one for general life wisdom, and then one for real estate.
Mm. Well, one of my favorite masterminds is called Leadership Boardroom. Almost everyone in there is real estate investors. So I'd say that's been one that's really helped me along my way, Leadership Boardroom. And in personal, one of my favorite books is The 5 a.m. Club. So I love that one.
Huh. I love hearing new recommendations. I have yet to hear about that one. 5 a.m. Club. Is that from Jocko Willink by chance?
No, I don't think so, but I don't remember who wrote it. I'll have to look into it.
Perfect. Yeah. I love hearing new ones. I might have to pick that one up myself. Moving on to the next question. This is for your younger self. So let's go back to the Isabelle who had no experience in residential assisted living. She was just getting started with, I can't remember how many years ago you said it was, but however many years ago it was, go back to that version of yourself, look her in the eye, give her one piece of advice moving forward.
Hmm. No one cares about you as much as you care about you.
Truer words have never been said. Good advice. Moves us to the next question. This is about the US. It's a big place, a lot of opportunity out there. Give me the single metro you're most excited about investing in today.
Hmm. Houston.
Houston. All right. That's a big one.
Hmm.
And actually, I don't think anybody's said Houston, which is surprising because it is one of the bigger cities out there. What makes you so bullish on Houston?
Great numbers, lots of people moving there. And it for assisted living, it's really good because the way it's zoned it just works well for us.
Interesting. Same with San Antonio.
San Antonio's not bad. Yeah,
Okay.
we have a lot of students there. It's not bad.
We own a number of RV parks, mobile home RV parks out there. And I like San Antonio. Nobody said it, though. I asked this question to every single person that comes on. Nobody said San Antonio. So I'm waiting for somebody to say that.
There we
But
go.
anyways, next question is about your favorite way to find deals. It all starts with getting in contact with the seller and penning that purchase agreement. So, what's your favorite way to generate leads and find new deals?
For us, we find off-market deals all the time, so it's good old telephone calling people.
There you go. And I'm sure it's a lot easier to find the criteria. You guys just look for houses that are too big for anybody else to live in and give them a call.
There we go.
All right, next question is about lessons learned. Not every deal we get into goes the way we expect it. In fact, many times things go wrong and we get to learn a lesson. So, what was a deal that went a little sideways for you, and what was the lesson you pulled from it?
A deal that went sideways. I think just rereading contracts, making sure you know what everything's saying, making sure that every T is crossed and I is dotted for sure.
Good advice. And that is good advice to everybody. Reread those contracts. Make sure you know what you're getting into. Doesn't matter what the contract is. They're binding. So you definitely want to know what goes into them. Leads us to the last question. This is for the listeners. You've given us a lot to think about. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you. This is a two-parter. Where can they find you? And then what can they expect when they reach out?
RAL101.com is that best place to go. And free books, free webinars, all sorts of great stuff there. So you can connect with us and schedule a call. And if you're interested in RAL, I'd love to chat with you more about it.
All right. Well, that wraps it up. Isabelle, thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. For everybody who's with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, Gabe, at the realestateInvestingClub.com. If you guys want to support the show, just leave us a review. Other than that, hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.